So let's bring in John Nino, the national president of the Amalgamated Transit Union of Canada, calling for a national task force to address violence on public transit. He's live this morning via Skype. John, thanks for the time this morning. What's the reaction been? What's the response been to your call for this, basically summit on the violence on public transit? What are you hearing from the people you need to hear from?
Well, to this point, we haven't heard very much. And, that seems to be the template of responses from transit agencies and from all levels of government. I'm hopeful that in the next 24 hours that we are going to hear from some of the stakeholders and bring everybody together so that we can start the heavy discussions that need to be had on how we can curb some of these violence within our transit agencies.
What is it, John, that you would specifically like to see for our viewers who've, maybe just sort of waking up and finding out more about this? What are you actually asking for from this task force?
Well, I think what we need to do primarily is identify some of the root causes of some of this violence and why it's been escalating against our own people and our riders. And we need to figure out what measures we can put in place, some of the best practices to protect not only the workers, but the riders. And we need a collaborative effort. This is not just an isolated incident within the city of Toronto. This is happening right across the nation, from coast to coast, in every municipality and every jurisdiction in Canada.
John, you said something so interesting this year. You just said this is not an isolated incident, nor is it isolated to Toronto. But it's interesting when we bring these issues up with, we spoke to Mayor John Tory yesterday. He referred to them as isolated incidents. How do you feel when you hear it described in that way from officials?
I have to be honest with you. I am absolutely angered when I hear it's an isolated incident. One incident is way too many. And the fact that we downplay it as a one of, and I said openly, I'm disappointed when I hear officials say, our thoughts and prayers go out to the victims, but it was a one of incident. We have to move away from that mindset. Our people are getting injured, the trauma, our riders are being affected. We need riders to get back on transit. We've seen the results of the pandemic and low ridership levels. Transit is a mobility right. People are afraid to go out onto the transit systems. Our workers are terrified that these attacks are happening in their workplace every day.
And John, it seems to be, currently there's an escalation involved here. I mean, we've heard incidents, and we've spoken to you and other union officials about, spitting, punching, verbal harassment, that sort of abuse to drivers. But when you're hearing about, people being chased with a syringe, people being, dragged off buses, beaten up, being attacked in other instances. The level of escalation, you just talked about your people being terrified. I wonder what that mood is as your members are arriving to work in the mornings to try to move thousands, tens of thousands of people daily to their jobs, to work, to school, wherever else, and how they sort of continue to sort of wake up in the morning and go in and do that, because the distress level must be massive.
I can tell you, the stress levels are through the roof. I would be shaking in my shoes if I had to get in and go into work every morning at 5 a.m., get on a bus, or work till wee hours in the morning, unprotected, without any assistance, and being vulnerable because transit operators and transit workers are being attacked. I have to tell you, I'm not sure how they can safely maneuver a bus across the city, knowing that at any time they could become the victim of violence.
Okay, John, last question. Don't have a lot of time, but what happens if a task force is not struck, if what you're asking for doesn't happen? What do you do next?
Well, then we're going to spearhead this on our own. We'll go out and research everything we need to research, and we will make recommendations. We will be asking for inquiries. I will work with the Canadian Urban Transit Association and put recommendations forward. Someone needs to listen to us, and we need to take action, and we need to take action now.
All right, it's been good to listen to you this morning. Indeed, that is John Nino, the ATU president. Thanks for joining us here on Breakfast. Appreciate the time.
Thank you so much.